Hi, my name is Tiago Duarte and welcome to another video here at Untitled Beats. In today's video, I'm going to mix the lo-fi beat that I did last week, and I'm going to mix it in Studio One. Okay, so let's jump into Studio One so that I can show you what I've done. And one of the things that I wanted for this track is I wanted to keep it as a lo-fi as possible, but I also wanted to have a good mix because even though it's low fidelity in terms of the sonic quality of the sound, it doesn't necessarily mean that we don't have to have a good mix on top of it. And we still have to balance out the basses with the high frequencies and the mid frequencies. So I wanted to approach this mix as if it was not a lo-fi track. So I wanted to apply the same concepts that I apply for all my other tracks. And then at the end, I could do some other stuff to make it a little bit sounding more lo-fi or more old school. So that was my main idea. So you will see what I will show you. Basically, you will see that it goes through the same process that I've been talking about, and you will see the equalizations that I've done for the track. And at the end, I will show you what I've done to make the track sound a little bit more lo-fi and not so modern. But that was more for the end. During the mixing process, I wanted to have the highest quality as I could, so that I could get the best mix that I could out of the track. And then at the end, I applied some different equalization to give it a little bit more a lo-fi vibe. So let's jump into the track. And the first thing that I wanted to show you is the drums. And for the drums, as you can see in the project, I have all the drums here set in the beginning, and they all go to the drum bus, and I only apply processing to the drum bus. So let's see what I did here for the drum bus. And it's very simple what I did here. I added 2 cuts and a boost here because I wanted to have a little bit more low end in the drum, in the kick drum. And I also applied here a boost in the high frequencies. And this is a little bit counterintuitive again, because at the end, I'm cutting a little bit of the high frequencies. But again, this was my middle process, or the process that I wanted to go through was, let me mix this as a normal track, and then at the end I can worry about making it sound a little bit more lo-fi. So that was it. Let's listen to the drums, and I will bypass all the processing. Not a big difference, but now I will bypass everything that I have, both on my drums and also in the main track or the master track. Okay, you can hear that the drums sound a little bit more tight, a little bit more, they sound processed, and they sound, the kicks gets a little bit more emphasis. And even though at the end I reduce some of the lows too, the kick goes through a little bit better. Let's now go to the next element, which is the bass. And this is the EQ that I applied to the bass. Very simple. I only applied 2 cuts here because I thought the bass had some resonances here, and this is how the bass sounds. Not a big difference. Again, like I said, in this case, I also knew that I was going to cut a little bit of the low end. But I felt that the bass was good, and I felt it had a really good synergy with the drums. And I also apply here, as you can see, I apply a sidechain based on the kick. As you can see here, the kick is also sidechaining the bass to make the kick a little bit more interesting and not to conflict the kick with the bass. So they now work a little bit better. Let's go now to the next element, which is this electric piano here. And what I did for this one, as you can tell, I apply a high pass filter so that I don't want any low end influences here in the bass, and 2 cuts and a boost here because I thought that I needed a little bit more mids in the electric piano. So let's listen to the electric piano with and without processing. It's very gentle, it's very subtle, but it just gives it a little bit more, it just makes it a little bit more clear in the entire mix, and it's not so muddy. And it's a very subtle thing, but again, like I've been saying in all my mixing videos, is like subtle things at the end make a big difference. And you might say, oh, but this is not that much in this instrument, and it's true, but with all these minor changes in every single instrument, when we take everything off, we notice a big deal, a big difference. And that's the power of mixing. And so don't overestimate it doing little things, making the sound just a little bit better, because at the end it can compound to a big effect. So that's something to keep in mind. Let's go to the next element, which is the keys. Again, for the keys, as you can see, I also applied a high pass filter. I applied three cuts here because I felt that the keys were a little bit, they had some resonance there. And one thing that you can see here is that because I applied this high pass filter and these cuts, I was able to boost the signal 2.38 dBs. So what this is doing is that let's imagine that we had all the signal without any filtering. And we had a lot of information in the low end or in the mid to low end. And what happened is that because I removed some of those frequencies and I did 3 cuts in the frequencies that I felt it had some resonance, what happened is that the sound became quiet or quieter than originally. So now I can boost all those frequencies that were a little bit down in the mix. Now they will be 2.3 dBs higher. So that's the balancing thing of equalization. And that's why it's very important gain staging, because if you do it right, you can bring up a lot of good things about the instrument that was previously not there, or they were not audible. So let's see the before and after of the piano. One thing that we can hear is that whenever I remove the processing, all the high notes of the melody, those parts, they get really low in the mix. So they get a little bit muffled or hidden in the mix. And because I applied the high cut or the low cut and the high pass filter, I was able to then boost the entire track 2.3 dBs. And because of that, all that piano melody that I had in the higher notes, they stand out a little bit better. So that's the thing about gain staging. It's not just coming here and removing stuff, boosting stuff. No, it's also dealing with the gains, with the level of the track, so that we can keep the same peak volume, but we bring certain parts of the instrument in the mix. So we balance out some frequencies so that we can bring the best of the elements. And because we already had the bass and the mid frequencies being filled with electric piano, I was like, there's no need to have a lot of in this keys instrument. There was no need to have a lot of mid to low end. So I removed that and I brought the rest, the high frequencies, a little bit higher so that we could hear the melody better. Next up, we have these strings. And in the strings, again, I applied the same thing, the same concept. I just applied a high pass filter, 3 cuts, and then a boost here in the higher frequencies, just to bring everything above 5.7 kilohertz. Everything I'm doing a 3 dB boost, and I was still able to bring up the gain 2.9 dB. So that's the point here that I'm trying to make, is you can really curve things out and boost all these frequencies that I hear. For instance, the 1K to 2K, and even this 5K up, I boost them also 2.9 dB. So that's the main idea here. And let's hear now the strings. Again, you can hear the strings a little bit better. They sound a little bit more clear in the mix, and they have more high frequency presence. And let's see what I did here for the electric piano low. And this has a little bit more processing than the normal electric piano. So let me put here also the electric piano so that you can see both. And they have actually in two different, they have processing in two different areas. So if we put here these ones, we can see that it's actually the same thing in terms of the frequencies that I boost and cut. But as you can see, they are separated. So this one is 200, 350, around there. And then we have 1K and 2K. And this is almost going in the same, it was almost grabbing all the cuts that I did in the other one and pull them down a little bit to the low end, because this is a pitch down version of the electric piano. And here I added a bigger boost in the mid frequencies here around 1K, because I felt I wanted to bring this. I felt that the electric piano had a lot of low end, especially because of the pitch down. So I wanted to bring up the mids a little bit more to differentiate a little bit more. So let's see how it sounds in the context of the track. And this one has a little bit more impact on the track, because whenever I remove the processing, the electric piano gets muddy and it gets lost in the track. Of course, you can still hear it, but that's not the point. The point is trying to make it sound better in the context of the full track, which I think it does. Next up, we have the last element, which is the electric guitar. And for this one, I applied here this curve here. Let me take out the curves. And I applied a high pass filter, two boosts here and 2 cuts. And yeah, that's basically it. I felt here we could add a boost here and there, because I liked those frequencies and I thought they sounded really cool. So let's hear now the guitar with and without effects. Again, the difference is not crazy. It's not going to be a night and day difference. But again, now I will show you the main thing, which is whenever we remove all the processing, you will see a big difference. And then that's when you see that your mix is doing something to the track itself. It might be getting better, it might be getting worse, but at least that's how you can judge if your track is going in a good direction or is in a bad direction. And of course, this is all taste at the end of the day, because you might do a mix that you enjoy, and you send it out to a customer, and it's like, I don't like it. It doesn't sound good to me. So, and you can do something that it doesn't sound good to you, but it sounds good to the customer that you are working with. So it's all a little bit subjective at the end of the day. And the good thing is that you can also do some referencing, which I'm not going to do here because of YouTube and demonetization and all that stuff. But you can also do reference to check if your track is really sounding like the tracks that you hear everywhere, and that can give us a hint to see if the track is actually going in a good direction or not. So let me now show you what I've done in the master or in the main bus here. And I applied a bunch of processing, as you can see. And one of the things that I applied was this EQ key here. And let me maybe do something like that, a level range, so that we can have a better idea of what is going on here. And as you can see, I'm applying a high cut at 12 dB per octave at 8.16K. And I'm applying also a low cut at 6 dB per octave at 45 Hertz. And here 2 cuts in this area, in this higher mid area, and also here in the low mids at 200 Hertz. And why I'm doing this? Because as we already know, like lo-fi tracks don't have a very modern sound to them. So the highs are not that crispy. They tend to be a little bit moody, a little bit more, I would say, intimate. Probably, I don't know if that's the correct word, but they don't have too much low end, and also they don't have too much high end. So with this EQ curve, we can kind of sculpt the track to be a little bit mid-centric and around 500 to 2K. And here we can try to cut some of the shine in the high frequencies to make the track sound a little bit more old school, let's say. So let's listen now to the track with and without this EQ, and then I will bypass everything, every single processing or EQ or plugin that I added here, so that you can see the before and after. And as you can hear, whenever I remove this EQ, the track becomes way shinier and has a lot of presence in the high frequencies, or the high frequencies have a lot of presence and really cut through the mix. And whenever I apply this curve here, it kind of makes the track a little bit more moody. It removes a lot of the high frequencies, but we can still hear them. So that's the main takeaway from this. We could also go with, instead of 12 dB, going with something like 6 dB to make it a little bit more gentle. But I like this 12 dB curve, and it removes a lot of the high end, and it makes the track a little bit less bright, which makes it more, like I said, a little bit more intimate, more moody, and a little bit more old school. Now let's hear everything without the plugins, and with the plugins, so that you can see the before and after of everything. So that's it. Let me know in the comments what you think. You think the first mix sounded better, or the mix with all the processing sounding better? Which one sounds better to you? Let me know in the comments. So I would like to get your feedback to see what would be the best mix, and what you like better, because that can also give me some feedback to see, okay, maybe I should focus more on this part or that part and change a little bit of the process. And that's it, guys. Another track that we finished, and I think it sounds really cool. And you can see that with this process you can build tracks from the ground up and have a mindset already for the track. The main thing of this channel is master the software, so that it's just you and music, so that you can do whatever you want and however you feel like doing. That's it. If you are new here to this channel, I have a playlist with a beginner course for FL Studio if you are interested, and I also have here a playlist with my Studio One tutorials for mixing and all that good stuff. That's it. My name is Tiago Duarte, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.